So firstly, Stephen, thank you for agreeing to speak to me today. We've met each other a few times, haven't we now, since you were referred to the Late Effects Clinic at Nottingham?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, we have.
So,
Yes.
yeah. So do you mind just introducing yourself just a little bit and just reminding me a little bit about your diagnosis?
Yeah. I'm Stephen Shaw, 63-year-old male. I was diagnosed in April 2019. My first protocol with my doctors for something totally anonymous to prostate cancer personally. It was a back and shoulder pains. And as I was leaving the doctor's surgery, the doctor did ask me if there's anything else that concerned me. And I mentioned that over the last couple of months, I'd had a couple of cases of erectile dysfunction. She asked me then if I wanted to, well, she told me then, but I needed to have a PSA test to get to the bottom of, that problem, which was carried out at my local doctor's. It came back within a week with a PSA of 13.6. And after examination, my doctor referred me to the city hospital for further testing.
Yeah.
I was within the city hospital within the 2-week period to go and see the people at the urology centre. I had a biopsy carried out and saw different scans.
Yeah.
My prostate cancer was stage 3 with a Gleason score of 8. I'm not knowing anything about it. I asked the question, what does a Gleason score mean? And they told me it's the size of the tumour either side and the fact that 5 is a fast-growing tumour. So very worried at that time. The first oncologist I seen thought it would be a case of palliative care, but it went to another doctor who decided to speak with myself and looked at different things we could do, which was 6 sessions of chemotherapy, followed by 37 sessions of radiotherapy. But during that time, I was eligible to join the Stampede trial for the hormones. Instead of taking tablets, I used the patches, the estradiol, which I had to change twice a week, 3 patches a day to keep the testosterone level down.
Okay. So some fairly big news to take in there then.
Well, very frightening, to be quite honest with you, to the
Yeah.
stage where I was very concerned.
Yeah. So if we focus on the radiotherapy for the purposes of today, can you tell me a little bit about how you found whilst you were on treatment? What kind of acute side effects did you have?
While I was on treatment, I did notice the fact that I was having some weeing issues, going to the toilet for weeing. I was then prescribed a tablet called tamsulosin, which did the effect. But I also noticed during the radiotherapy that I started within 2 to 3 days feeling a little more fatigued than what I'd expected to be, even though I haven't gone through the chemo. I was starting to feel a bit more fatigued, and I mentioned a few times to the radiographers, and they mentioned that it's a normal practice of things. It can happen to people. Then I think went towards the latter end of my radiotherapy sessions. I started getting a little bit of a diarrhea.
Yeah.
But nothing that worried me at that time. That I didn't really mention that. I just thought it was just a case of this is what the case is, because I did read a bit about it and saying that where they was doing the radiotherapy it can cause this issue. So I just accepted that for the time being.
Yeah. And did that settle down after you finished your radiotherapy?
Did settle down for a little bit, and then within probably a month of it settling down, I was awoken one night by bad stomach cramps, really, really terrible stomach cramps, which I ended up having to sit up out of bed to alleviate the pain. It was really a tight knot of pain, as I would call.
Yeah.
Then I went on to within a couple of days of that, where I was going to the toilet probably, not every day, but a few days a week, at least 9 times a day, which was very, how can I say, discomfort. It's affected me personally because, you know, I'm a guy that likes to mix and socialize with my family, even my sons and daughters. I didn't want to tell them the fact when there's inviting us around for tea and lunch that, you know, I made little excuses up instead of coming up saying this is what Dad's suffering at the moment in time.
Yeah.
And I just want to be in my own four walls with just me and my wife, understanding this problem. But I didn't go anywhere with this. I spoke to my oncologist a few times about it, and he did mention a few times about little things we could do. But I was at the stage then thinking, well, the guys have done a fantastic job for me. Why do I keep moaning about this? But it was debilitating for me at times, really, you know, and it got to the stage where I had to really say to my oncologist the fact that I needed to find out more about it. And that's when I was referred then to the late effects team.
Yeah. I mean, how long did those kind of side effects carry on for, Stephen? I mean, there must have been obviously having well over a year, and obviously having a big impact on your lifestyle, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Sounds quite isolating.
It was. I mean, to say that socially, we used to go out quite a bit with friends, and then I'd go out to local football, watching my grandson. Even that came to a stop some Saturday morning because I didn't feel comfortable enough to be there, to thinking, well, I'm here today, and then you've got to run somewhere. So it did become an issue. Then the grandchildren, must admit, you know, I think he found it very odd why Granddad was no longer there Saturday mornings for a little bit. And then that's when I had to come out and say to my daughter, I thought, well, if I tell one, I got to tell all the four of them. So I explained to all four, since I'd had the treatment, I've been suffering these issues. It was a weight off my mind to be able to tell them that, because I didn't want to keep making excuses why me and Mum wasn't going places, and what was, when we were going places, sort of like got a time limit we were always going.
Yeah. And do you think, living like that for so long, how did it get you down? How did it, mood wise?
Mentally, I'm loath to say that it was a depression start time, because of the fact that I was being treated for prostate cancer, and that it was something that I'd got to put it with. But I must, being brutally honest, mentally it did get to me at times. Sitting alone, I mean, I only work part time. I've got my own little business unit, and even going there was like, oh, I've got to go to work today. And there was odd days I'd skip, and my wife would carry on with the role for us. But and I think our relationship with my wife, it got a bit at time, because you're mentally thinking about different things, and I was quick to jump up at things, stuff that would never really bother me, but it did at this time, because it was happening to me, and I didn't understand why this was happening to me. You know, I wanted to get to the bottom of what's going off, and yeah, it was, yes, mentally, yes, it was a challenge at the time.
Thank you for that. And so you did come to us. You were referred on the basis of your bowel side effects to the late effects clinic. So how was that? How did you find coming to a late effects service?
When I came to late effects service, and I spoke with yourself, I knew I'd got to talk about that, but I also wanted to talk about, which I hadn't spoke to Dr. Chadwick about, my oncologist about, was the fact that I'd actually suffered a little bit of erectile dysfunction as well, and I'd noticed that the fact that there was issues with my penis and stuff like this, and I walk into the hospital that day, I knew I wanted to get the biggest parts off my chest, because it had been really affecting me. As much as I was saying to my wife it wasn't affecting me, it was.
Yeah.
And I think I was hiding the fact, and I found it very awkward to think that I did hide things from my wife. The fact that it was bothering me, really bothering me. You know, it was a very awful time. But having spoke to the late effects team, yourself, and when I was met the other guy about the sexual anthropology, I felt so relieved that I was actually talking to somebody who listened to me. I'm not saying that the oncologist wouldn't have listened, but I just think when I go to places, I'm a bit old-fashioned values, but certain people have got certain jobs. And I just thought, this is the guy I need to be talking to about what was wrong with Stephen. It was very informative. It put me at rest. I found coming out there that a weight had been lifted off my shoulders. The fact that, you know, there was light at the end of the tunnel, and he would see to things, you know, help me.
Thank you. So we were able to cover quite a range of different issues, weren't we? Just starting from that one appointment, really.
Yes, he was. I think that was very good. The fact that I come out and I had got a direction to go.
Yeah, about moving forward.
Yes, moving forward. Sooner than coming home, and I must admit, I've never said it till today. I did sit in the car when I come to see people at Late Effects. I did have a few tears in my eyes. I sat back in the car. I'm a man who wears his heart in his sleeve, because I thought how easy it was to be able to come to the Late Effects and talk about issues that you would never got me talking about 10 years ago. Never. It was not in a million years. I just would have put up with it. And
yeah, it's about having that opportunity sometimes, isn't it? And finding the right place where you feel comfortable to talk about those things.
Well, I think it's all with the environment, and it, you know, and the fact that you are talking to people that you. One of the things I found very good about it was the fact that I was honest enough to open up to somebody that I'd never met in my life, and the person that I've been married to for many, many years, I wasn't talking. I didn't want to put pressure on or put anything on more on. You know, it was just. I just found it very easy to talk. And then when I come home from the first visit and I spoke to my wife and said, Gina, I wished I'd have got around to this sooner, because today I feel a lot better than what I did the previous times.
Good. That's good. Can I just ask, Stephen, were you expecting to get the Late Effects that you did? Did you feel informed that there was?
No, I was never. I was expecting a little. Truthfully, I was expecting a little bit of issues, but that's only by what I read. Because when my oncologist was talking to me, sometimes my wife was with me. Because of the fear, I wasn't taking a lot in. I just wanted. I was in these people's hands, who've done a tremendous job. What they've done for me, absolutely can't praise them enough. I sort of like come out sometimes at the meetings, and I'd say to my wife, "What did they say? What did they actually say?" And we had to go for it again. And because of fear, sheer fear, it was just I just wasn't taking on board the fact that I'd all this to go. And so the Late Effects thing, it was the only effects I thought would be why I'm going through the treatment. And once I finished the treatment and the first lots of diarrhea stopped happening to me, I thought, oh, is that we're over the worst of this, and now this is time to, you know, time to look forward. And then it came back with a vengeance, I would say, because it really was, you know, it made a massive impact on my daily life. Even though I only worked 2 to 3 hours a day, I was having to adjust because of my circumstances.
Yeah. And how does it impact on you now? I know that thankfully you're in a much better place than you were, but I believe that you still make adjustments.
Yes, I do
to accommodate. Yeah.
I've made quite a lot of adjustments to the fact that, as I've spoken in the past, I don't like to say we have old-fashioned values in me and my wife. My children haven't, but me and my wife, we eat all fresh food, fresh vegetables, everything done cooked properly. But I've had to make a change to my life. The fact that I don't eat as much vegetables as I used to do, because I think they irritate the bowel at times, you know, doing a bit of my own reading. I'm loath to keep going back to my doctors. I always think they've got a bigger fish to fry and bigger fish to do. But I just look at the fact, well, if I can help myself, and when I have done that, but then again, that's had another impact on my life where we don't socialise with people so much at having meals as we used to do. Especially I used to enjoy going for a curry. I do find the fact that as soon as we sit down for a curry now, and I must say it to the waiter 3 or 4 times they're serving on, make sure mine's very mild. And I think sometimes you've told me once, now you've told me twice. I don't want to be putting myself into a position where it's going to be happening to me again. And I always fear that. I always fear the fact that that could happen to me again. But just lately, it's started to settle down a little bit and it's not been so bad. But I'm not saying it's actually gone, because it hasn't gone.
Thank you for that, Stephen. Is there anything else that you would like to add today?
Yes, I think personally, for people in future reference, I think there's a lot about the bowel issues with radiotherapy, the pelvic area, but I don't think, my personal opinion, it touches on the sexual side of it for people as well, which I find that being given a little bit more information regarding that at the beginning probably would have been better. You know, for myself, you understand it better, because when it's happening to you, you feel though you can't really want to speak to somebody, because you just think, well, this is going to happen because it's part and parcel of your treatment. And like I say, you being referred then to somebody else, it made my life a lot better. It made my life feeling going forward a lot better. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you very much for speaking to us today, Stephen. Thank you for speaking to me and for being so honest.